Once again, good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. As always, I am Zak, the Corruption Detector, and this is another edition of Red Pill News. I hope you're having a lovely day. If you didn't get a chance to see our video with X22 report yesterday on Comfy Sunday, I highly suggest watching it. There was some information that came out yesterday, and I'm going to be addressing it in the opening segment. And then in the second part of the video, we're going to be going through a thread from my friend Heshmat Alavi, because he brings together a lot of evidence that ties all of these different pieces together with regard to the former Obama administration and the country of Iran, and the situation with OBL, SEAL Team 6, the whole thing. There's also a new clip from my friend Nick Noe. He goes into some detail about the information that's about to drop. You guys are not going to want to miss it. So please sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from my sponsor. You guys, the First Amendment has been under big attack by big tech companies for a long time. I don't have to tell you that. Cancel culture is in full swing. We see it every day. And many creators, including myself, are under constant threat of deplatforming, and I've already been demonetized. Superfans is the new platform that addresses this pinch point. It's a platform that fully supports public conversation and civil discourse, and this means creators like me can be themselves. Think of Superfans as a fusion of Patreon, Cameo, Subscribestar, and Instagram, which deleted me, minus the judgment. My entire YouTube feed automatically syncs up to my feed on Superfans, and if I can squeeze by the censors on Instagram, then that will upload there too. I can also create my own original content exclusively for Superfans. Plus, you guys can also choose to support me there just like on Patreon. They even have a special agreement with creators like myself so that I maintain full ownership of my fans and followers. This is the first time any platform has ever done this. So you can go to www.superfans.co/redpill78 and check out my content there. It's a super easy way to make sure that you get to see all of the videos I make every single day, 7 days a week. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around. First of all today, after the revelations were made public yesterday at AmpFest by my friend whistleblower Nick Noe and whistleblower Allan Parrot, and then I published those claims here on my channel, a few people cried foul on Twitter, stating that the information had been broken earlier, specifically by True Pundit's Mike Moore in his 2018 book, Paine, How We Dismantled the FBI in Our Pajamas. Now, in fact, I had found that the information had been broken earlier, although in a slightly different form. But the claims that were new to this drop of information involve the evidence accompanying that original story, which has, of course, since been updated to include world events that have happened since it was originally broken. Now, what's special here is that we don't have an anonymous source. We don't have a mysterious government insider with supposed knowledge. What we have is Allan Parrot, who is this time revealing terabytes of evidence direct to the president and other lawmakers in Washington in the form of emails, photographs, video, and most importantly, audio evidence of people closely associated with the former administration, revealing the plot in detail that we described yesterday. Now, Allan himself was the subject of a 2010 documentary entitled Feathered Cocaine. It dealt with his time in the world of falconry amongst the rich and powerful leaders of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and alongside the Shah of Iran, and face-to-face with OBL himself. Now, the tale of OBL's sanctuary inside Iran has been reported on since at least 2010, as far as I can figure, and that was after the documentary was released. Although, no doubt, due to the administration at the time, the news was quickly brushed aside and easily forgotten. Here is an article from Fox News on May 3rd of 2010. It is detailing the information in Allan's documentary and the claims within. And then here's another article from Huffington Post on December 5th of 2013. And finally, another article from True Pundit on October 16th of 2018. Now, the first two articles detail Allan's experience and information, which is what I covered yesterday, albeit with some additional info to fill in the blanks on events that have taken place since Feathered Cocaine was released. Also previewing that new, never-before-seen evidence that is about to drop imminently. I've heard it, I can vouch for its legitimacy, it's real, and it's just around the corner. Now, the True Pundit article ties in the idea of the Iran deal and the trophy kill in Pakistan, but it makes no specific mention of Allan or his evidence, so I don't know if Allan figures into that story in that article. But nevertheless, when you put all three articles together, it paints a clearer picture of just how easy it is for the mainstream media and the swamp to bury the most important story of the century. Now, due to the fact that the MSM have lost control of this narrative, we find ourselves in a different world in so many ways. A world where we now have the power to bring this important story to the forefront, where it's not so easy for the 4 a.m. talking points to eclipse this criminal act perpetrated by more than one administration and by many of the same people who are involved in the Spygate scandal. Congratulations to all true journalists who have taken the time to report on this singularly monumental story. But just because it's been reported before doesn't invalidate the importance of reporting it again to a new audience so that we can reveal even more information and open the eyes of all who didn't get a chance to see it the first time around. Working together, we have a collective potential to impact the world for a far greater good, far more than if we go it alone. Remember, we are the news now. Not you, not me. It's us. Together, united. All right, next, I want to go through a thread from my friend on Twitter, Heshmat Alavi. He's put together some excellent examples showing how the Obama administration was in bed with Iran from the very beginning. So that's from 2009, basically as soon as they came into office. This goes far beyond this notorious 2015 nuclear deal that provided Iran access to $150 billion in credit and $1.8 billion in unmarked cash. And he links to that short excerpt from the interview that my friend Nick Noe did with my friend Allan Parrot and with Ty Woods' father standing right there on the side. Ty Woods being one of the people from SEAL Team 6 that was taken out after the operation in Pakistan. Now, he notes that the information coming from Allan, the evidence in video form, audio form, emails, pictures, all of it, it's going to be out soon. Now, but he takes us here to the summer of 2012 when U.S. intel and security officers in Libya warned their chain of command. Now, one of those people was Nick Noe himself, and another person was William Cotel, also has been a guest here on my show. Now, the administration knew, they chose to do nothing at all. Now, here's an article from the New York Post, and it asks us, why won't the U.S. government admit that Iran funded that attack in Benghazi? And a quote from the article, "The clowns in America, the NSA, and Joint Special Forces Operation Command operatives in Benghazi and in Tripoli were actively monitoring Iranian operations in Benghazi in the months leading up to the attack." He continues, Green Beret Colonel Andy Wood sent a cable to his commanding officer in June 2012 that the Iran-backed militia Ansar al-Sharia had received their funding from Iran and were sending their wives and children to Benghazi. And then there is another New York Post article, the shadowy Iranian spy chief who helped plan Benghazi. And I'm sure you guys recognize him right there. He is the one that we recently took out, Soleimani. Continuing on, throughout the Obama administration, officials with knowledge of Iran's presence in Benghazi, including security contractors who defended the Clowns in America annex in a 13-hour battle, memorialized in the piece of propaganda known as 13 Hours, were repeatedly threatened with prosecution if they revealed what they knew. And then we have an article from the Washington Times, the Iranian connection to the Benghazi attacks. Among them was then Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, General Michael Flynn. General Flynn placed the regime of Iran on notice in the early days of the Trump presidency. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
Iran continues to threaten U.S. friends and allies in the region. The Obama administration failed to respond adequately to Tehran's malign actions, including weapons transfers, support for terrorism, and other violations of international norms. The Trump administration condemns such actions by Iran that undermine security, prosperity, and stability throughout and beyond the Middle East, and which places American lives at risk. President Trump has severely criticized the various agreements reached between Iran and the Obama administration, as well as the United Nations, as being weak and ineffective. Instead of being thankful to the United States in these agreements, Iran is now feeling emboldened. As of today, we are officially putting Iran on notice.
All right, so now place that next to the information we learned yesterday. Obviously, one of the first points of business when President Trump was bringing his new administration in, the former outgoing administration knew that they had to get rid of Michael Flynn. He was tough on Iran from the very beginning, and they knew that that's where he was going. We've often heard that Flynn knew where the bodies were buried. Well, what bigger body could there be than this plot to harbor and safeguard the world's foremost #1 wanted terrorist responsible for an attack on America that killed thousands of people? Clearly, there was an effort on behalf of the former administration to keep his location secret and to keep secret the fact that he had been harbored with our knowledge. So, moving on. This is the one reason why I still believe Iran's regime has specific interests in the ongoing ambush that is targeting General Flynn. And then we have a Medium article, Iran's interest in the ambush targeting General Flynn. Documents which include a wire transfer for 1.9 million euros from a known Quds Force money laundering operation in Malaysia clearly show how Iran used the international financial system to funnel money to its Benghazi operations. Let's take a look at these. This is that wire confirmation going to that known Quds Force in Malaysia. Details it right here. A courier arrived in Benghazi carrying the equivalent of $8 million to $10 million in 500 euro notes around 3 weeks before the attack. That is certainly not a coincidence. The money came from Quds Force accounts in Malaysia at the First Islamic Investment Bank and IRGC front, proudly operated by Babak Zanjani, a 41-year-old billionaire who called himself a financial basaji or militiaman. And the Iranians, Babak Zanjani here on the left, and then Ali Reza Ziba Halat Monafared right here on the right, they helped finance the attack that took place in Benghazi. And then this just details that as well. Obviously, it makes a lot more sense now of why they wanted to keep everything about Benghazi so secret, because it led directly back to exactly the situation with OBL. Now, the person the Iranians put in charge of recruiting, training, and equipping the Ansar al-Sharia jihadi militia was a Lebanese man named Khalil Harb. He was a senior Hezbollah executive well known to Western intelligence agencies. This is his wanted poster right here, as well as the wanted posters for a couple of other bad guys as well. As operational plans for the Benghazi attacks accelerated during the summer of 2012, Iran dispatched IRGC Major General Mehdi Rabbani to Benghazi under cover of an Islamic Red Crescent medical team. How many times have we heard that under the cover of NGOs, people will go and do operations just like this? Not surprising. Iran's media claimed the Red Crescent team was abducted to cover their tracks. That's a pretty good way to do it. First report, August 1st, 2012. Second report, August 29th, 2012. And then the Benghazi attack happens on September 11th, 2012. Now, a U.S. AFRICOM command briefing slide from the summer of 2012 shows money and weapons flowing from Iran into Egypt and Libya, but it had other AFRICOM documents relating to Iran's presence in Benghazi, and they have been consistently denied to journalists and outside groups. Qasem Soleimani, the man that we spoke about at the beginning, was involved in the attack, and it makes a lot of sense thinking about why President Trump wanted to make sure we took him out so badly. It was a response to what happened in Libya in 2012. In Libya, Iran wanted to block U.S. influence, which they saw as a threat. They saw the uprising against Gaddafi and the Arab Spring more generally as an opportunity to accomplish this. Now, the Iranians arrived in Libya, staged a kidnapping with allied militias to create a distraction, leaked reports to operatives that they were transferred back to Iran to cover their tracks from Western intel teams, and went on to prepare for the September attack on the U.S. consulate. The team in operational command in Benghazi were Qasem Soleimani's people, and that's according to former Baghdad Deputy Chief of Station John McGuire. He continues, they were a mature, experienced operational element from Iran. These guys are the first-string varsity squad, and that's why they were so successful. The faked kidnapping in Benghazi was a typical Quds Force op. They used a local militia that on the surface detested Shias, just as they used the Taliban in Afghanistan and manipulated al-Qaeda. Iran used recruits from Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, Turkey, and Egypt to finance, train, and equip the radical group Ansar al-Sharia in Libya. Careful to show their hand only to a select few. To those on the ground, the Iranian operatives would look and speak just like Arabs or Turks. And then by mid-August 2012, planning for the attacks on the U.S. diplomatic compound and the Clowns in America intelligence base in Benghazi had been in the works for 2 months. Recall the dates of Iran's state media reports in tweet number 11 of this thread. That was August 1st and then also August 29th, both in 2012. Now, evidence evidence suggests that the Benghazi attacks were acts of state-sponsored terror against America, ordered by Iran's highest authorities, financed by Iran's oil sales, and involving multiple Iranian regime agencies and banking commercial entities in Malaysia, France, and Libya. The big picture? Around 35,000 declassified emails show the Obama-Biden administration not only knew of Iran supporting Assad oppressing the Syrian people, but appeased Iran, Iraqi militias, and Iran's puppet government in Iraq, and collaborated with Soleimani that led to crises across the Middle East. Here is one such email right there from Jacob Sullivan to Benjamin Rhodes. We have seen this on the program before. Don't worry, I am going to leave a link to this thread in the pinned comment below so you guys can see all of these documents and these articles that Heshmat has included. The Obama administration knew also about Iran's role in a plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador in Washington. I'm sure everybody remembers that. They also knew about Hezbollah directly coordinating its role in Syria with Iran and about Iran's secret nuclear activities in underground sites. Now, here is an email from Hillary Clinton to Sid Blumenthal, and she mentions the Iranian assassination plot against the Saudi Arabian ambassador, as well as the Quds forces and General Soleimani. You can't get much more black and white than this, my friends. And then in another classified document, State Department's counterterrorism czar, Ambassador Daniel Benjamin, said that Hezbollah is coordinating directly in Syria with the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. And then continuing on. And then we have another email right here from HRod17. You gotta love it. She asks Anne-Marie Slaughter to print this article, A Real Debate About Iran. And in it includes information about those secret underground nuclear facilities. Now, the Obama administration also knew of Iran's rigged 2009 presidential election and of Hezbollah's role in the Thailand terror attack. They also sought direct diplomacy with Iran in January 2009. Now we know why. And they described engagement with Iran as very interesting in August of 2010. These emails detail all of that. And the Obama administration knew of Iran lobbyists' role in whitewashing the IRGC's crimes. Those people are Vali Nasser, Suzanne Maloney, Gary Sick, and they sought to provide bigger carrots to Iran's regime. As a reminder, an Iranian lobby group called the NIA Council enjoyed unprecedented access to the Obama-Biden White House prior to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. And it says a former Iranian official, pro-Tehran lobbyist, hosted at Obama White House dozens of times. That's from the Washington Free Beacon. Now that we know what was taking place, it makes a lot of sense. They were negotiating for that Iran deal to keep everybody quiet so that they didn't have to worry about the truth getting out. Iran's lobby group, NIAC, enjoyed very strong ties with Obama-Biden administration, mainly through Ben Rhodes. Remember him? He was in shock after President Trump won, probably because he knew he was going to get busted. He was the mastermind behind the infamous echo chamber. Now, the Obama-Biden administration derailed an ambitious law enforcement campaign targeting drug trafficking by the Iranian-backed terrorist group Hezbollah. Also, when it comes to the Iran deal, the Obama administration took lying to new heights. They lied to the American people. How is the Obama-Biden administration remembered? By secretly trying to give Tehran access to the U.S. financial system to convert billions of dollars in assets into euros as part of that Iran nuclear deal. They also promised to grant citizenship to 2,500 Iranians, including family members of government officials, while negotiating that nuclear deal. And they provided $1.8 billion in unmarked cash that has been traced to Iran's backing of Houthi rebels seeking to take power in Yemen. It is now historic fact that the reporters in Washington, D.C. were lied to and fooled by the Obama administration with regard to the Iran nuclear deal, and Ben Rhodes was a major part of that. Now, this is a segment from a former Iranian MP detailing all of the cash that was given to Iran by the Obama-Biden administration. And I'm going to go ahead and remove myself because you're going to need to read the subtitles.
توسط تیم محترم دولت داشت دنبال میشد ما سر قضیه 400 میلیون دلار پرونده بیه که خودمونم مربوط به زمان شاه با آمریکایی‌ها مذاکره کردیم دیگه. ما 400 میلیون دلارمون رو که آمریکایی‌ها نداده بودن رو اومدیم باب مذاکره چی شد؟ جاسوسای آمریکایی شدن. جیسون رضاییان شد. ما 4 تا جاسوس رو آزاد کردیم. 7 نفر از زندان‌های در واقع خدمت شما عرض کنم آمریکا فی‌البداهه آزاد شدن. 7 نفر هم قرار شد سر سال آزاد شدن. 14 نفر از بلک لیست در اومدن شدن 28 نفر. 4 به 28. بعد ما گفتیم کمه و واقعا هم کم بود. گفتن چی میخواید؟ گفتیم اون 400,000 در واقع 400 میلیون دلارمون رو شما باید با سود معقول به ما بدید. 1,700,000,000 ما پول گرفتیم، پول نقد گرفتیم تو 4 تا پارتی اولش 400 میلیون دلار توی در واقع چمدون واسه ما آوردن. ما گفتیم ما اینا باز کمه. گفتن چی دیگه میخواد؟ گفتیم ما بانک سپه و اینترنشنال سپه رو از بلک لیست در بریم. این که دیگه حی حاضر آمریکایی‌ها نزدیک تعطیلی شورای امنیت بود رفتن دستگردون کردن، امضا گرفتن آوردن ما رو چیز کردن. اونی که دائما ترامپ تو کل ما با میزد میگفتش که شما به ایران کولی دارید، سر 1,700,000,000 دلار بود، زمانی که ما تمام تحریما رو موندش فشار می آورد. فشار اینا پول جیرینگی واسه ما آوردن.
So, a history of appeasement with the Obama administration. Now, one of the main arguments I see on Twitter is that the money that was given to the Iranian regime was their money. But only $400 million was their money. It didn't need to be $1.7 billion in cash and then also allowing their banks into the financial system, especially when we know what they were using their money to finance across the globe and their specific interest in these events that have taken place against Americans and that have sacrificed American lives. Now, finally, my friend Nick Noe gave another little interview while he was down at the AMP Fest. We're going to go ahead and listen to this. I want you guys to hear this because it tees up everything else that we're about to get in the way of evidence.
Fucking a long time. He was in the Middle East for over 20 years. He I don't want to say too much about it, but he's got recordings of a lot of people. So something that everybody wants to have is the evidence. Ooh, I want to hear and see the evidence. Guess what? We have it. We have irrefutable evidence. We have audio recordings of people, government officials talking about it to Allan. And in there, you're going to find out some pretty shocking things. And that's just the start of it. That's just a couple of audio recordings and a document. You're going to find out that 3 former CIA directors were all implicated by allowing this to continue to keep bin Laden alive in Iran. They moved him from Iran over to Pakistan for the trophy kill. Instead of just giving him to us, Iran was like, all right, here, take him. They were going to give him to us. And instead, Hillary and Biden and them cooked up this plan to have him transferred to Pakistan for a trophy kill. They want to do a trophy kill.
Right before his re-election.
Yeah, they wanted to do it right before his re-election. And then, so, yeah, you know, fast forward a little bit, he is re-elected. One thing that people don't know, though, is that the payments to Iran were related to that. I've heard 2 things. I've heard that bin Laden, that wasn't him as his body double. I mean, I guess we'll never know if they buried it at sea, that story, right? But either way, even if they did kill him or didn't kill him, the payments occurred because of that transaction. And of course, you know, the pallets of cash are kickbacks, right? So
The transaction of SEAL Team 6's.
Oh, I'm talking about. Oh yeah. So afterward, after the this all happens, SEAL Team 6 gets shot down. It was only a really short time after that, and that was highly suspect even to us. When we were briefed on it and everything, none of it made any sense. You know, nobody knows where they are at any time. Practically a handful of people do, and for them to be targeted so easily, like sitting ducks, you know, that was.
The more I learn about this situation, the more I wonder if this isn't one of the major reasons that they decided they had to make sure that President Trump never took power. Apparently, Hillary Clinton said, if he gets into office, we're all hanging, you know what I mean? And maybe this right here is exactly it, because they were willing to trade American lives like a commodity. They were willing to put all of this money out into this terror network so that it could be used against our own citizens and so that they could get kickbacks and continue to live these lavish lifestyles. Of course, there are way more reasons than just this, but I think that a major part of it is this piece right here. Obviously, a lot more information is about to come out. That evidence is going to drop, and I want to reiterate, I have heard it myself. It is explosive, and when it does hit the internet, guys, there is going to be no way that they can defend against it. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am Zach the Corruption Detector, and this was another edition of Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, just one more thing. I just want to say thank you so much for watching today. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. Make sure you hit that notification bell and always consider liking and sharing this show on your favorite social media platform. If you guys want to support the channel more directly, there are ways to do that in the description below. I appreciate everything you guys have done. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.